Alright, hello folks. So this is a random video. It is an extra video that you're going to get this weekend. I felt really bad about not doing a Mass Effect live stream. Basically, I've had my kid for the past few days, and when we'd finished, playing and having fun, and she'd gone to bed, I was just too tired. It would have been a bad stream, so I just said, yeah, we won't do it last night. And the night before that, I was stuck in traffic, so by the time I got home, it was also too late to do a stream. So that really sucks, but we have had a big event in the world of Warhammer, of all types of Warhammer, over the past few days, and that is the World Championships of Warhammer, of both Age of Sigmar and the 40k variety. And I wanted to take you through, basically, the entire thing, all of it. So we can have a little look at the expose about what's been coming up with Warhammer, and we can talk about the different models that are coming out, different games that are coming out, and maybe give our pennies worth on what's going on over at Games Workshop. So I've been trying to be less overly negative for no reason, less angry about things. They don't make it easy though. They do not make it easy. So first things first is Warhammer Quest that they revealed, Warhammer Quest Dark Water. This is, Warhammer Quest is pretty cool. I do like Warhammer Quest. And one thing I will say is this book that you can see right here at the bottom of the page, it is actually a book, yes, but I was originally quite afraid that when you open this thing up, all of your scenarios in Warhammer Quest are in this book. That's how you run the game. And you know how books go, right? Towards the middle of the book, they sort of bow inwards, like a wave. I'm thinking, well, how are you going to put your models on that? That's ridiculous. No, this thing does lay out flat, just as you see in the advertisement there. So that's pretty cool. The models themselves, very, very, very good. I did a mini video, a large video with Kaifer at What the 40k, and the Outer Circle before, for Grim Dark Therapy, talking about this kind of phenomenon, and that is that all of these models are in the Dark Water box set, but they're only in this box set. You can't buy, I don't think, any of them outside the box set right now, which is pretty sucky, because some of us don't want to buy a £120 board game just to get access to one or two models. For me, I like Edmark Valoran, I like Brent Tylis, and I like the Dwarf. That's about it, right? You've got to like the Dwarf. But I would not want to pay £120 for those three models. That means I'm probably never going to see them, unless they bring them out on their own, which is not that much of a good chance. Same thing over here. We have some pretty cool models down here, including the Jade Wizard down here with his Gyron, Place of Life, and of course the Nurgle dudes. Now I've had many questions about this in email and on Discord, asking whether I think these guys will be available on their own, or if they will be in the Nurgle Battle Tome for Age of Sigmar, and they will be. These guys will be available in your Battle Tome, which hopefully means they're going to be coming out on their own. So you can go and buy Gelgus Pust and all these other people on their own. Right now, though, Games Workshop did not announce whether that would be a thing or not. And if it is not a thing, and you need to buy this game to get access to these models, that is really poor form by Games Workshop, in my opinion. That is not the way to back your people who like your models. Some of us might not want to play Warhammer Quest, even though it's a cool game. Some of us might not want that. Choice is always good, Taking away choice to try and make sure that you make your money back is not good. Again, Blight Templars, this is what I mean. I can't see the Cankerborn and Blight Templars and guys like that not coming out on their own. They really fell out the Age of Sigmar Nurgle roster, especially your Pestigors, Beastmen, things like that, your Maya Kelpies, of course, right? I cannot see these guys not coming out on their own. Lovely looking models. Outer Circle, Macro over there does not like the swirly pattern. I can forgive them the swirly pattern because of where, this is Warhammer Quest at the end of the day. So these guys are in the realm of Gyron, and they've basically taken over a temple. That's the story of the game itself, right? They've taken over a temple, and they are corrupting it and walking around and all that kind of stuff. So I can forgive the swirly patterns on certain bits of the armor. Macro did a different opinion, that's fine. But that's moving on from Warhammer Quest Dark Water. I really enjoyed that. I thought it was really good. Moving on to the Maggotkin of Nurgle again. Now, Maka and Kaifer brought up a very good point here, and that Festus is literally, in Age of Sigmar, the new model that we have here, a combination of a lot of characters like Tamakan and all these other guys from Warhammer the Old World, from the original Nurgle roster, all amalgamated into one dude, right? Into one model, where we'd rather just have all of those models back, please. I like this model. I'm not a big hater of it, and I think if you're gonna shave down the roster as they're doing in Age of Sigmar to create space for new people, I think this is not a bad model at all. I think a lot of Nurgle people will like these in terms of what they are. My favourite Nurgle model are the Sloven Knights, because I feel so sorry for these poor horses. These are horses with pustules and all sorts of things going on with them. They look absolutely ill, and I'm not sure whether that's just the amazing paint job, or whether, I'm supposed to feel sorry for these horses, but I do. Kaifer brought up something really cool, and that these guys look too big for the horses in a good way. Like they're weighing them down, which is actually quite true as well. Nurgle are eating well in this reveal, I will say that. A lot of people don't like the coral on these dudes. I think these can be painted as funnels out of which, smoke and flies come out. And if that's the case, yeah, I'm absolutely fine with that. But I think they look pretty cool. They do look pretty cool. And of course, you've got your Pestigors there. And all of these, as we've just seen from the Dark Water box set, will of course be in the Maggotkin of Nurgle Chaos Battle Tome, which is in there, which is pretty cool. So, anyway, moving on. Warhammer animations, don't need to look at that, really. Okay. Cataphracti Terminators. Here's where we had a big changing of opinions from the guys over at Grimdark Therapy and myself. I really like these guys. I think these are really cool looking Terminators. In fact, these Terminators are going to be the Terminators for my new small Space Marine force that I'm collecting in the new year, or towards the back end of this year. These are going to be the Terminators because they're sleek, they are more lightly armoured, they are supposed to be extremely heavy Cataphracti Terminator suits, so much so that they can't move very much. And I did agree with Maka, and he's saying, look, they don't look bulky enough. These guys look like they're from 40k, and I agreed. I agreed with that. These guys have been marketed as being, your Iron Warriors, really heavy dudes, slamming into the enemy, that kind of a thing. Can only move in one direction, and, can hardly turn. The gorge is supposed to be way lower down, so you can hardly see over the top of it. The guy's supposed to be packed right in there, right in the armor. These are sleek. But the thing is, Northern likes sleek models. I like Bladesman Space Marines. I like flowing Space Marines. I like Space Marines to be wearing armor, but they can look like they can really move in it. And these guys are that kind of... They're basically made for me. If these Cataphracti Terminators were painted purple as Emperor's Children, or White Scars in white and red, no one would complain. Everybody would just nod and get on with it, right? The fact that they're Iron Warriors means that they're, the Cataphracti are meant to be massive and powerfully built. These guys are more elegant than that. They're more knightly than that, and they will form the small force I'm building is actually for 40k and Horus Heresy. They're going to be Black Shields in Horus Heresy and their own chapter in 40k that uses really ancient marks of armor as their thing. So these are perfect for me, which is why I like them so much. But I can absolutely see your point if you look at these models and you say, hey, that guy isn't heavily armored enough. What the hell is going on? These aren't Cataphracti Terminators. They're more like Tartarus level Terminators. And that I can agree with, but I like them. So yeah, that's just my own thing. Breacher Squads, nothing going here. I think these look really cool. These are awesome. And yeah, they're exactly how they should look like. Even their face grills, only the Sergeant has the gaps in the face grill. Everybody else is extremely... another layer of plating over the face grill to make sure that there's nothing getting in there. Yeah, big old Breacher teams like them. I think that's really cool. And of course, we weren't told whether these dudes are going to be available. No, we were. Yeah, these will all be available outside of the Siege Assault battle groups. So you don't need to buy this really expensive box set to get your hands on these lovely models. They will be available separately. Thank you, Games Workshop, for giving us the bare minimum. But still, thank you for giving us this, because yeah, we shouldn't need to pay for all of these to get access to just one. You know what I'm saying? And yeah, that's where we are with that. It's pretty cool. Let's move on to our next. Probably the worst. I know it's going to sound really bad, but the worst models. These aren't for me at all. These reminded me of the Gecko from Metal Gear Solid 4. You know, the why did I just do that? The cow things, right? They reminded me of that. They just look very bottom heavy and very silly to me, and it's not really my friend Matt loves these, and you know what? If these are your thing, absolutely go for it. Like these are your thing. That's no worries there. To me, from a distance like this, they don't even look like Mechanicus Imperium. They look like Chaos to me. You know what I mean? And a lot of people are going to be going, you can't say that. Well, you know, they do. They just look like Chaos to me from a distance. They said on the live stream these are like Klebor Howl, or they can be Dark Mechanicum, but that doesn't say that on the box. Do you know what I mean? It says Mechanicum. It doesn't say Dark Mechanicum. It says Mechanicum. So you can't say that. You can't just say, well, you know, they can be played as Dark Mechanicum, so it's all right that they look a bit spindly. No. It doesn't say on the box, dude. That's not what they are. You're selling them as this. That's what they are. All right, moving on to our Super Heavies, Imperialis. Listen, I've got nothing much to say about this. It's a cool game, Imperialis. Really cool game. Nothing going on with it at all. I think our comments were more interesting on over on Kaifa's channel. That video will be out next week, and I had nothing really to say. I love the Super Heavy tanks. I love Legion Super Heavy tanks. Please bring these out in 40k plastic so I can actually pay for them at a decent price, because the repulsors aren't doing it for me. This is what a Space Marine tank is supposed to look like, in my opinion. The minute you bring these out in 40k in a more affordable fashion, I will be giving you my money. Alright, cool. Moving on. Okay. Right. Now we're in the Northern Exile section of the video. A lot of you will know that for a long time now, even before we did Grimdark Therapy, I campaigned for a shortening of the Horus Heresy saga. The Horus Heresy saga is 54 novels, it says there, but it's a lot more than that with the short story anthologies and things. You know, it's more like 65, 66 novels. It's a ridiculous amount of books to need to read to actually get what's going on in the Horus Heresy. So I've always said, my solution to this, and what we said on Grimdark Therapy too, was that Games Workshop should literally curate down the major books in the series. We picked around 20 of them, and make big anthologies of these books. So you have, say, 1, 2, and 3, all the Horus trilogy, all in one big compendium, one massive book. And in that book, you've also got artwork, maps, things like that are in the book. Kind of like the old Horus Heresy big black books, you know, but it's 3 novels back to back, right? With lots of really cool sketches and things, and concept art and stuff like that. Have all that in there. Even have like models, you know, like fighting each other in poses that you get in codexes in that book. There'll be expensive books, but right, you got 3 novels in there, back to back to back, in an anthology with lots of art, lots of artwork, lots of really cool pictures, and it'll be hardcover as well, so it's all there, and that's it, right? And you go from there. That's the first trilogy. Then you get the Istvan trilogy, so you get all of the books that cover the Istvan 3 and 5 conflicts, all in one compendium with lots of artwork, and you go from there. So you use the books you already have in the Horus Heresy series, and you just make big compendiums of them, and you basically get the single line run through of the Horus Heresy from start to finish, and you can skip all of the books that maybe are still cool but aren't really needed to understand what's going on in the Siege of Terror. that's what I would do, right? And we've said this for years. I've said that for years. When we started Grimdark Therapy, we all agreed on that, 20 to 25 books would be fine. Games Workshop didn't just take our advice, they went further than that. They said, hold our beer, we'll do it in 12. Games Workshop have said they are bringing out a collection of books, right, with new artwork on the front, of the 12 books that make up the central through line of the Horus Heresy. Okay. I applaud the attempt. But here's the thing. Games Workshop themselves, in this announcement, said, hey, we're really aware that there are a lot of Horus Heresy books and you might not want to read them all. So we've selected a selection of the main books that show you the key events of the Horus Heresy up until the Siege of Terra, right? The problem is, they don't. That's the issue, they don't. They cut out vast swathes of the Horus Heresy. In fact, there are certain books here that don't need to be there. No Fear does not need to be there at all. It just doesn't need to be there. There are other... the Vengeful Spirit does. Vengeful Spirit is a book that literally covers Horus getting his chaos powers. If you read these 12 books, you will get to the Siege of Terra and go, wait, how is Horus this powerful now? Who's John Grammaticus? Who the hell is that guy? Hey, what? Who's Erda? What? The Cabal? What? You're not going to understand nearly anything that's going on in the Siege of Terra, okay? I applaud the attempt. And I applaud the honesty of Games Workshop, basically saying, yeah, you know what? We done fucked it up. We fucked it up, right? We fucked it up. And so now we're going to say, get these 12 books and you'll understand the Horus Heresy. You may understand the core run-through of the Horus Heresy's, some of the key events, I agree. We've got the first 3 of how Horus falls to chaos. We've got the fight of the Eisenstein and getting to Terra. We've got Fulgrim, which covers Istvan. And Istvan 3 is also covered in Galaxy in Flames. We've got the first Heretic, yeah, covering the Word Bearers, Burning of Prospero, yes. No Fear we don't really need, but it's there. Betrayer, Praetorian of Dawn, Master of Mankind, Slave to Darkness. The issue here is, once you get past, and I've always said this, the first 5 books of the Horus Heresy were chef's kiss. Exactly what it should have been, right? The first 5 books, Horus Rising, False Gods, Galaxy in Flames, The Flight of the Eisenstein, and Fulgrim, were absolutely bang on. It was so elegant, it was so well done, and one event led to another event, led to another event in the Horus Heresy. If they kept that run through, it would have been one of the greatest things ever written, because they could have done it in 20 to 25 books, and it's finished, right? Instead, they bloated it, they milked it, they took you for all that you were worth, and they released upwards of 60 books. That didn't need to be... And by the way, this is a tacit admission by Games Workshop that, about 40 to 50 of those books to be brought out, fucking useless. Useless. Unless you actually like the Legion in that book, useless. Don't read them. Don't read Nemesis. What's the point? What's the point in reading... What's Nemesis for? No one cares. I liked Unremembered Empire, but do we need it? Nope. Nope. Don't bother reading it, don't bother buying it, right? This is a tacit admittance by Games Workshop that they screwed up royally. That's why they're bringing these things out in a new bespoke format, because these are the books they want you to read to know what goes on in the Horus Heresy. The problem is, you can read all of these books and still not know what the fuck is going on when you get to the final books in the Siege of Terra. That's the issue, right? The one time I would have said, do at least 20 books. Do you know what I mean? Add 8 books to this list, and I agree. That's a really good way of doing it. The one time I'd said to Games Workshop, I would have said, do at least 20 books. Select 20 books out of these 60-odd, and that's the central line of Horus Heresy. By the way, they said it themselves. They said, this is the central line of the Horus Heresy. 12 books is not enough. 20 would be enough, just. You're missing out vast swathes of crucial information by just saying get these 12 books. A typical Games Workshop fumble. This is a massive fumble. It's the right idea, and that's what makes it so frustrating. It's absolutely the correct idea, the correct thing to do, in my opinion. But they've absolutely fucked this. Okay, you need at least the $20, okay? And by the way, without Scars and Chris Wright's writings, you're missing the best Horus Heresy books from this list. Now, do you need to know what the White Scars are doing? Not particularly, but they are at the Siege of Terror, right? Do you know who isn't in this list? The Blood Angels. If you read these 12 books, you're going to get to the Siege of Terror and go, who's this Sanguinius guy? Do you know what I'm saying? You're just going to, who's this Sanguinius guy? Like, what? You know? Is he in No Fear? Is he in... I'm going to have to check this now. Is he in No Fear? I swear he is. I swear he is. No, he's not. No Fear is Word Bearers, and he's literally not in these books. He's not in them. This is what I mean. It needed to be at least 20. Games Workshop, please, whoever is doing whatever they are doing at Black Library, can you just tell them to stop? Go and get some fans who know about the lore. Go and grab Lewitin, right? And Amber King, and the Remembrancer and a few others. Give them some money, and let them do this announcement. And they will give you 20 books, and they will say, read these 20 books, and you will know what happens in the Horus Heresy. The rest of the books are interesting if you want to know what goes on with that particular faction. Right? But these 20 cover the central arc of the Horus Heresy. What you did was what you always tend to do. Fuck it up royally. Alright, moving on. My god. My god. Okay. Warhammer the Old World. This will calm me down a bit. I really like what they've done with Cathay. Simply because they brought out a lot of Jade Warriors and the elite dudes for Cathay. This, as they admitted, these are the rank and file dude. These are your peasants, right? These are the guys who are going to make up the vast majority of your Cathay army. Finally coming out. They basically bolstered out the roster of Cathay to complete the army. And that's great. That's great. Can't say anything bad about this announcement. I like the models. I think they look really cool. I don't like the fact that this guy's about to get his head wrung by the arquebus above him. But, you know, these are really cool models. It actually looks like the little demon dude here, as Maka said, has been caught by the wizard behind him. He's like, oi! He's like, oh shit. But no, I really like Grand Cathay. I think it's really, really cool. And yeah, these models are great. And I've got nothing more to say about them. Yeah, if you like Grand Cathay, your army is now complete. You have your Jade Warriors, you have your Celestial Dragons, you have your Wizards, you have your rank and file dudes, you got Archers, you got Gunners, you got Cavalry. You got all the things you need now to create an army. Thank you, Games Workshop. Exactly what we wanted. Moving on. Necromunda, not going to jump in on this that much because, well, they can't actually spell. But beyond that, these are cool models. Absolutely cool models. I like them quite a lot. You can use them, as I said, in our podcast to bolster out kill teams and Imperial Guard regiments. These would be a really good penal colony regiment. These make a really cool substitute for that. So yeah, that's what Necromunda's for me, anyway. I think Necromunda is a really cool game with really cool models. So yeah. And more squats. Cool stuff. Moving on. Alright, the last is 40k. We're going to have to get into this because these are cool. I know Maka didn't like these, but I quite like the Beric Stormbrow, the Orc Killer. I quite like him. I think he's pretty cool as a dude. I like the Twin Lances. I think more characters for the TOW is good. As I said in my explanation video the other day, I want more battle damage on my TOW. I want more trophy options on my TOW. I want my TOW to be a bit more brutal. You're in 40k. Let me brutalize you up, please. The best TOW armies I've seen are all weathered, you know, grungy, in the trenches TOW. They're awesome. And this guy got a big cheer because he's finally the Tyranid Prime with a Lash Whip. Why you can't have the sword and the whip, I will never know. But at least now, Tyranid players, you have your Tyranid Prime with a Lash Whip. Isn't that nice? Now, the main event that I'm sure you're all here for. Okay. Let me take a quick sip of my drink. Alright. I'm fully aware that the main characters of Warhammer 40,000 in the year 2025 are the Ultramarines. Well aware of that. Got no problem with it whatsoever. I want to like the Ultramarines. I'm quite fond of them, actually. I'm quite fond of the Ultramarines. I think they're pretty cool. The problem is, they never go away. They never, ever, ever go away. They're everywhere. They're just everywhere. Games Workshop themselves today, well, yesterday, in this announcement said, hey guys, we know we do a lot of Ultramarine stuff, so they know. They know. Yet they do it anyway. They said, we know we do a lot of Ultramarine stuff, but we really like Titus, here's some more Ultramarine stuff. Okay. Well, number one, I don't like this model. I don't like Death Watchmaster models where they're just standing there, looking tired and forlorn into the camera, like, right? Okay, I don't like the model. Don't think it's very good. It's a video game character, fine. I've got no problem with him being, yeah, I've got no problem with him being around. Got no problem with him being a model. I've got no problem with there being lots of Ultramarines dudes, and that's fine. They're the main characters. I have an issue mainly with this. Not the Necrons, they look awesome. With this, the 500 worlds. We have a vast galaxy to play in. A huge, vast galaxy to have fun in and to do our campaigns in, to do worldwide campaigns. So why the fuck are we doing the 500 worlds of Ultramar again? For the third time! The third time! We've already had the Plague Wars, we've had the Indomitus Crusade, and now we're back again to do it all again, to run it back again. We're going all the way through Ultramar again. They reset the progress in Ultramar so they can just do it again. Alright? We've done the Plague Wars. Gilliman settled down the 500 worlds. Yes, there's still things going on, but, like, it's not the most interesting theatre of war in 40k anymore. Far from it. Okay? We've had the Indomitus Crusade. The Terran Crusade, even. Right? We've had the Plague Wars of Mortarion. We've had the Fate of Konor. Remember that? Remember the worldwide campaign? The Fate of Konor? I do. I was working for the company. I ran it. Okay? Can we please leave Ultramar alone for 5 minutes? Just for 5 minutes. Let's just do something else. Anything else. Okay? Please. Please, 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 please. These dudes, please do not feed the Necron Destroyers to the Ultramarines. Please. Like, can we not do this? Can we not just have the Ultramarines face every single thing like it's a Monster of the Week commercial? Can we not do this? A better way for people to do this is for the Bieltan Craft world to assault a Maiden world that is unwittingly infected by Destroyer Necrons. Okay? They go to try and take a Maiden world without realizing it's been infested for aeons by the Necrons, who then wake up, and now we have Bieltan, fighty Eldar against Destroyer, fighty Necrons, Xenos versus Xenos. Let's go. That'd be cool. If you really want your Marines, why don't you throw some Black Templars in there? Because they really don't like Xenos or Psykers. But now they're forced to work together against this vast threat of this Necron dude, right? Of Necrosaur Amentar coming back, right? That would be a cool narrative, but no! Can't have that, can we? Because the fucking Ultramarines need something else to do. After all of the video games, and novels, and TV series, and everything else that they get in 40k, yet another thing is handed to them. Games Workshop, please, let me like Ultramarines. Please. Let me like your stuff. This is all great. Shard of the Nightbringer, awesome. Right? Destroyers, new destroyers, awesome. Right? Necrosaur, brilliant. Fantastic. Gnarly. Great. I almost want to collect them myself. But they're lumped in with these fucking bozos again. Again. I've got no problem with you bringing these out. But for God's sake. Please. No more of this. You have an entire galaxy to look at. Why was the Devastation of Baal one novel? That, by the way, the Ultramarines ended up winning. That's right. The Devastation of Baal. The Blood Angels defending their homeworld from the Tyranids. Who won that campaign? The Ultramarines. I'm done with this. I want to like the Ultramarines, but they won't let me. They won't let me. Okay? Imagine being a big fan of Batman, right? But also liking Superman, right? You really want to get into Superman, but your Batman's your dude. And every single time you read a Batman story, Superman turns up in the 11th hour and wins the battle like it's nothing and then moves off again. Right? And you only ever get one Batman story every couple of years. Would you resent Superman? Yeah. Well, now if you're an Ultramarines fan, now you know how we all feel about your fucking faction. We all want to like you. We want to like your faction. But you need to go away for 5 minutes. Let us miss you. Absence makes the heart grow fonder, yes? Have us miss you for a bit. Piss off. One last thing. Maka brought this up in our chat. They're not even trying. They're not even trying. That is a blade guard with another head. That is all that is. That is all Mataurus is. A blade guard from Indomitus with another head. Oh, and an upside down toilet seat on his back. That is where we are. That is what this is. That is and this is the problem. This is the problem. The minute you rely on Ultramarines this much, you're going to get things like this. They're going to try and pull the wool over your eyes. They're going to try to trick you that they brought out new things when they haven't. You didn't notice, but your brain did. Right? That's all I've got to say on that. I'm sick of Ultramarines. I want to like you. But as a Grey Knight fan, I'm sitting here with 15, 20-year-old models whilst you're getting yet another Titus or Calgar or whatever. Piss off. Let us miss you for 5 minutes. And maybe you'll get less hate. I love you all a long time. Have a wonderful rest of your day. Those were the reveals from the World Championships of Warhammer. You know, I like Warhammer. And those are my honest opinions. So, yeah, I love you a long time. And I will speak to you on Monday for some more Hobby Nightmares. Have a good one. Bye now.